almost there. No way. What is this? You're tuned in to the Eyes Open podcast, where secrets aren't safe and we see it all.
All right, now we want to send a big shout out to our intro music selection. Usually we don't play music on the show because obviously we catch copyright strikes, stuff like that. But we want to send a big shout out to a great indie group who you heard on the intro of this show called Slightly Stupid. They're a band based out of San Diego. A lot of people, know who they are. Some people don't. They toured with a lot of, artists like Cypress Hill, to name a few, Snoop Dogg, people like that. But the great thing about them is they're an independent reggae rock band. And they've actually, in their beginning of their phase of making music, they were signed by Bradley Nowell of Sublime to Skunk Records. But what I've always respected about this band is they not only stayed true to their core sound and their core mission, but they actually are one of the few bands that didn't go completely commercial. They stayed with their own type of independent vibe, and it did really well for them because they recently just did a show at the Padres Stadium in San Diego, where they're from, and it was a pretty amazing show. And I look forward to seeing them again in the future. I probably seen them, it's been a long time. I seen them maybe, like the song I played, that's from their album Closer to the Sun. I probably seen them maybe 20 years ago. They've been doing it that long. They're a really great band. And I've been telling you guys, I'm the type of person, I really don't listen to music that much. I don't, because I believe there's a lot of, I run a conspiracy podcast here, okay? So I believe in the backmasking. I believe in the hidden messages. I believe in that shit. I really do, okay? Because I've seen it. And this is one of the few bands, and I would say reggae in general. Like, I had somebody get mad at, who was it? There was a big influencer who did a video about Bob Marley, and he was saying, they're like, oh, but he wasn't a Christian. And I'm like, well, you should look into Bob Marley before you talk about him, because from what I've gathered, I'm a big Bob Marley fan. He turned Christian not too long before, it was close up to when he died, but not too long before he died, because one of his close friends was a minister, and I heard he got baptized in a New York bathroom, all right, like a hotel bathroom. It was crazy. And see, that's why we should not be too quick to judge. Jesus tells us not to be too quick to judge. But I'm the type of person, to be honest with you, I don't listen to a ton of music. Slightly Stupid's one of the few bands that I've listened to over the years here and there. But I'm just not big on music anymore. I really haven't been, because there's too much mixed messages. If you guys haven't noticed, music has fell off a lot because the meaning's not there no more. And even look at people that have came out and even told you guys that this plays into the episode tonight. What we're going to talk about is it plays into the idea that there is frequencies that they send out through music, through movies, through all types of stuff. And there's a certain hertz that reggae plays on. That's why when you hear reggae music, you feel good. You go, it's not just because you're in the islands and you're around palm trees. I mean, I could be in a dark type of area and listening to, reggae and it would make me feel good. I just don't know what it is, reggae, but that's what it is. That's why when people listen to these certain types of music, they're like, I don't know why it makes me feel good. Well, that's because It's frequencies. I've talked about this enough on the show for you guys to know frequencies absolutely matter. They matter. They've proven in studies that it actually manipulates your DNA on a molecular level. Like it literally manipulates your DNA. That's insane. So imagine people that are listening to music all the time that don't even realize that they're like, you know what, I feel like crap. You know, I don't know why I always feel like crap. Maybe it's what you're listening to. Even nowadays, more than ever. Back in the days, we had these big headphones we put on. Trust me, I was the person sitting at the bus stop waiting for my bus, you know, listening to Dr. Dre and Eminem and all that stuff. But we had headphones back then. Now you just stick that shit right in your ear. People walking around with these earbuds. And I did a reel. I didn't do an episode on it, but I did a reel. Maybe I should do an episode on it about how the frequencies through these Beats headphones. You guys have to understand this, okay? I don't care if it sounds crazy. It's the truth. The technology that they've developed up until now would blow your mind. And no pun intended. That's what that shit is doing. It is blowing your mind. It is reshaping the way you think. Could be the reason why you have anxiety. Could be the reason why you feel anxious. Could be the reason for a lot of things. But people don't think about that. Okay, we look at everything else in our life, but we don't think about that. And that's what goes along with what today's show is about. And see, today's show is about rarely ever, okay, I can tell you, rarely ever are the people who make real change in this world seen for who they are and what they're doing while they're doing it. Okay, it takes an assassin's bullet. It takes 50 years to go by. It takes all types of... Look at... I'll give you a prime example. Nikola Tesla is considered a genius, okay? And that's why Elon Musk went through all he did. For the people that don't know, Tesla Motors was already a motor company in California. He sued them over their own name to take that name because he wanted that name Tesla. So for the people that want to go look that one up, yes, Elon Musk sued some guys from California to take that name because he just wanted it. And for the people that know, that's another rabbit hole to go down for another day. But PayPal Mafia, Elon gets what he wants. So that's what happened. But pretty much, that's just a piece of the puzzle of a bigger story. Because the point of tonight's show is nobody is respected in their era. And it also plays back to even the Bible. What does the Bible say about how a prophet is not, I paraphrase here, but a prophet is not respected in their home country, in a sense? You guys can go ahead and post the verse in the comments, but a prophet is not respected in their home country, in a sense. And it plays back to the same thing I'm saying with people who have done a lot of stuff. Now, maybe people like, even if you go like Thomas Edison, which we're, like I told you, I can talk about a lot of inventors in this episode, and they're all each their own rabbit hole to go crawl down. So I got to be careful with what I say, because I'm like, man, each one of these people could be their own episode. And I believe I talked about Tesla before. It was probably back in the 100 somewhere. I believe I did an episode about Tesla and the Tesla coil and all that. But if I didn't, honestly, maybe I should do a recap or a part 2 on that episode, because that was actually interesting. But think about it. Tesla died broke, penniless, and the FBI ended up raiding the place he was staying at, took all of his notes, and he wasn't revered as some great inventor. And here's the one thing I want to say about this, because that's why if they won't give him his flowers, I'm sure a lot of people, that are in the community of free thinking of inventors, of all this type of stuff, they will give him his flowers because they're like, it's Nikola Tesla. Come on. This is the point of what I want to say, is because a lot of people don't know this. And I think that's why a lot of kids these days don't know this. And they should. They should be learning history. They should be learning about these inventors. Because where's the inventors of our day? Where are they at? I know they showed that one kid who was making, what was it? Plastiline. They said he was making gasoline out of plastic. But I guess nowadays it's even scarier if you come up with a great invention that does something, like the guy who invented the motor that ran on water, and then he ended up going out to meet some people he said was with a government entity, and he's like, they poisoned me, and he ran out of the diner and dropped dead, and he was poisoned. So that's, it's maybe scarier for people to come out with this type of stuff nowadays, but nonetheless, Nikola Tesla in his day, okay, he was going to give free electricity to us, the people of the world. And he got a bunch of rich people together, and he showed all of them the ability to produce electricity indefinitely. And guess what they said is, obviously, they said, how are we going to tax, something that's unlimited like that? We can't tax it, so we don't care. So they didn't fund it. And inevitably, it died out because nobody wanted to fund this broke genius that ended up being a broke genius that knew how to do all this. And what was it? 369 is what Tesla said was the key. So to free energy. But he was saying, which I find interesting, because this is what I never understood as a little kid. Okay, I don't know about you guys. When I seen telephone poles coming out of the ground and stuff, right? I thought electricity came like from the ground. Like I thought we harbored electricity as a little kid. I thought this. I thought that these poles up here were just carrying electricity that came out of the ground. So it's funny how when I was a kid, my brain was thinking how Tesla actually said it is. He said, because think about it, we have electromagnetic fields. Okay, so there's electricity in the earth, that's proven. So he's saying that there's enough electricity in the earth to do whatever we want. We could fuel our houses on it if we wanted to. So I find that wild that something that Tesla already said could be done, which was harboring electricity from the earth. I was just a little kid and I was thinking that. I always thought that's where electricity came from, until obviously I got older and I was like, oh, okay, there's, power plants and they trade over here, yada, yada, how it all works. But no, I really, truly, as a little kid, thought that. And that's why, honestly, it's like Einstein said. Now, like I said, I got to be careful with each one of these people I talk about because they're each their own rabbit hole. But Einstein said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will always grow up thinking that it's dumb. And for the people, that's pretty easy to understand what that means is you have to put somebody in their element, because if they're not in their element, then they're always going to think that they're wrong, they're stupid, they don't know anything. And a lot of the times, that's how I felt when I was younger. I would have been somebody, if you put me in performing arts at a young age, I would have flourished. And I wish that's what it would have been. I wanted to go to performing arts school so bad, but my parents didn't have the money to send me to it. I had to go to public school like the rest of you guys. So, and they didn't even have, I mean, I know some of these schools have good like drama classes and stuff like that. They didn't have that shit where I went to. It was just basic high school, and that's probably why I dropped out when I did. But that's a story for another day. But the whole thing, the whole point of this episode is it's fascinating to me that these people who have shaped the world as we know it, okay, as of right now that we look back at, were actually looked at either as crazy or as dumb or as eccentric. Lots of different ways you could label these people. But the truth is, their brain was just operating eons ahead of everybody else's. Like how somebody will hear music or hear anything and say, you know what? They were ahead of their time. That band was ahead of their time. Whoever was ahead of their time. That's what that is. And that's what these people were, ahead of their time. And that is rarely ever respected in the current time that those people are living in. And I see it with everybody. I mean, you name it, from artists to writers to inventors to philosophers, every one of them. Now, there are people that were like known as geniuses in their time. Like I give you off the top of my head, like, but he had to keep his genius under wraps a little bit. And he was doing drawings of helicopters 300 years before they existed, was Leonardo da Vinci. Now, he was known for being a genius in his time. He was a painter, sculptor, you name it. That guy did everything. But for the most part, it's weird. Like when you research a lot of these people, you know, they were not respected in their time. A lot of them died broke. A lot of them were just, like I said, considered eccentrics. So the question is this: are we not seeing these people? Are we not seeing the mistake or the error in our way from back then? Are we not looking for these people in this day and age? There could be somebody out there with the cure for cancer, but we would never know. He could be a 15-year-old Chinese kid in Taiwan right now. We don't know, but because we're not looking, because we're not nurturing that fuel inside of somebody to look, to experiment, to change things in the world, because there's people that want to do that. Even from a very young age, they feel a need to do something. I know I did from a very young age. You could ask anybody that was around me from a very young age. I was directing movies in my neighborhood when I was like 10 years old. Okay. I was getting everybody involved. We were filming movies. We were doing stuff. I always felt that there was something bigger, a bigger destiny for me that I had to do. And at the time, you're just kids doing things, right? But when you get older, and now I'm sitting in this seat and I'm doing this show, it makes a little bit more sense. But what I'm saying is, most people could have that themselves, but they don't nurture it. My question is this: what if we're not nurturing that spirit enough within our youth or the people around us? Maybe it doesn't necessarily have to be our youth. There could be somebody in their 30s that's working at, like, I'll give you a prime example. Look at like a movie like Good Will Hunting type shit. You see what I'm saying? Matt Damon was a freaking janitor, and the guy was like a mathematical genius. All I'm saying is maybe we're sleeping on the people that could bring real change to the world, because these people are not respected in our era. It's not till later, until they leave something behind or something happens, and then people later on say, wow, that person was really onto something. To where people finally look at that person's work and say, you know what? They were onto something. And that's the question is, I just want to know that. We need to, I think, okay, not just open our eyes, but close our mouths and open our ears. Like they say, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And trust me, I need to keep my mouth shut a little bit more too. But being that I run a podcast, it's kind of hard to do that. But nonetheless, I'm telling you, I think that we need to open our eyes, close our mouths, and also open our ears to the world around us. And we might be surprised at what we find.